Hello, my name is Lorianne Smith. Welcome to my website, Born in Hell, and this is just a website to showcase my audios that I've done from Blog Talk Radio, and I will be putting the Spreaker audios on here as well. And this is a video series, Born in Hell video series that I'm just doing to kind of chronologically allow people to see, what it is to be abused through my eyes, looking at all the different periods of my life and just the subsequent damage done to our family, done to all of our lives, all of my siblings, my parents, and myself. And so it's, I appreciate everybody who's taken the time to watch my videos. I've done a lot of them, and I'll be just doing a few more and finishing it up. Um, it kind of correlates with a life of death redemption. There's a little bit different information in there because I just choosing what to talk about here for people, just to give a bit more background information to what was going on in my life as far as how difficult it's been to get through, and how difficult even as an adult it's been to get through. My family was suicidal. Some of my family members were suicidal, and some had suicidal ideation, and I was one who had suicidal ideation. And this is the abuse was horrific. All of us suffered in this, and all because my parents would not get help, and they just continued their lifestyle on and passed it on to their children, and then their children didn't get help. And I'm the last born child. I'm the youngest, and I'm 50 years old now, and this is just a look at how difficult it's been, really, for me growing up abused, and then having to learn how to navigate as an adult in a world that I have no idea how to navigate, because I don't have a skill set. I don't have the information. I don't have even the the self-worth to even bother to do a lot of things. Growing up abused. And so this is what this is really all about. And so it's graphic, it's explicit, and we're going to look at ages 35 to 42 tonight. And it's explicit, it's graphic. Well, tonight I'm not going to be talking about too many explicit things, but all of my shows, I just ask that you watch it at your own discretion. And anything to do with child abuse, because my biblical studies are fine to watch, but child abuse issues, these are very sensitive material. Some people are very, sensitive to these types of things, and that's understandable. I grew up in this. This is my norm. Unfortunately, it's not now because I'm not being abused anymore. But the world of abuse is still my norm because I grew up abused, and so I'm now having to deal with the abuse, and I still cope, and so I'm used to it. So it's not that it's sick and twisted and it doesn't bother me. It bothers me enough that I wanted to kill myself, right? That's how much it bothers me. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to die. And I thought, well, I don't care how many drugs I do, how many car wrecks I get into. If somebody kills me, I don't care, And then I thought later on, I started planning my suicides. And I never attempted them, never followed through with them. But it was always there. And I knew I wanted to live. Just this little person inside of me was just so wounded from all of the abuse. I couldn't figure out how I was going to do it because I was in so much pain. Not just physical pain. We're talking spiritual, psychological, emotional pain. My heart, my mind, the very core of my being. So you have to listen at your own discretion, please. And if you're a survivor on your healing journey, make sure you're far enough along in your healing journey to, before you watch any of my stuff and listen to my audios on my One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, as well as Child Abuse Prevention is Up to Us, because that information can trigger a survivor and then, cause you to kind of regress in your healing journey, and you don't want that. You have to be safe enough, to be able to listen to another person's story of surviving abuse or about abuse without it triggering you, right? And so make sure that you can do that safely before you watch my stuff, right? And or listen to my audios. Same thing. I have a warning on those too. And anyone 18 and under, please have an adult or parental consent, someone who will check the material out first to make sure it's age appropriate for you. I'm all about child abuse prevention, and I would ask you to keep yourself safe. Have an adult or a parent help you to make the decision whether you should be listening to my work or watching my videos. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll get into this. 35 through 42. This is my adult life, trying to navigate after being abused, and just never dealing with anything properly. I did get off the drugs. Really, that was one of the best things I ever did. I did that when I was 21. So that was good. I, I didn't continue drug use. I didn't get into alcohol, so I don't have those monkeys on my back. I'm a cigarette smoker, and I've been smoking for so long. That's a monkey on my back. But it's legal, and it's damaging. It's very expensive, but that's about it. I'm not a drug user. I've got my life pretty well straightened up that way, but I've got a lot of emotional difficulties, a lot of problems dealing with people, relationships, setting boundaries, things like this that survivors of abuse have to learn how to do, right? So we left off at 35, and Cecil, the love of my life, who waited for a year for me to call after I left him in Edmonton after I lost the baby. He's now living with me. We've decided we're going to do it. We're going to try again. He loves me. I love him. We've decided this is it. I didn't mention this, but prior to him moving in, about, I don't know, 3 months probably before I even called him to see if he had any ladies in his life. You can go back and watch that last video. One of my bosses at work, the main head chef guy, he had to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff like furniture. He had to get rid of a bed, a dresser. He had to get rid of a couch, a chair, and then the other boss, the really big boss, the executive chef, he had to get rid of a TV. So my friend Michelle, the one that's been keeping me under her wing, we're good friends, we're palling. We do stuff after, if we're not on shift together, we do stuff on the weekends. If we're not working or if we're working on the weekends, we do stuff during the week. But we're always kind of hanging around a little bit here and there. We're developing a friendship. And she hears that they're going to get rid of this stuff. She says, Lori needs stuff. She's got nothing in her apartment. This is before Cecil moved in. And she needs all this stuff. She's sleeping on a sleeping bag on her clothes. And she's got, really nothing. And so they brought this stuff over. They asked me if I wanted it. I was like, absolutely. They didn't want any money for it. They were going to junk it. It was just kind of, it was old, right? They were just going to junk it because they couldn't sell it. And I said, I would be glad to have it because I have nothing, right? I'm sleeping on my sleeping bag on the floor, right? And so it was like a furnished apartment by the time Cecil moved in. I mean, we had a couch, we had a chair, we had it was like a double bed, we had a dresser. So when he moved in, by the time he came, I had some furniture at this time. I just thought I'd fill you in. Cecil didn't have to move and bring in a bunch of furniture. I had furniture by this time. It was old, but I was so happy to have it, man. I was very happy to have it. I grew up kind of poor myself, so I didn't mind having used stuff. I was very happy to have it. A lot of times when I was growing up, I was sleeping on the floor. I didn't have a bed until I forget how old I was. I was 7 when I finally got my own bed to sleep in. And, so I was used to kind of sort of sleeping on the couch or sleeping on the floor or whatever, wherever. And so I didn't mind as an adult, And, but, now I've got some furniture. Cecil's moved in. Things are looking really good. I'm 35 years old. And my dad, when my mother had passed away when I was 30. And he's been staying, I'll just give you a little sideline story here. My dad's been staying with my sister Kathy in New Mexico. And she phones me all the time to tell me that he's driving her crazy. Because my dad is mentally ill. And you can go back and watch the videos. He wasn't just abusive to me, he was abusive to everybody, but I had a really rocky relationship with him because I hit him in the head with a bat when I was 9 years old, with my plastic bat when I was 9 because I thought he was attacking my mother. So, and she just had surgery, and I thought he was going to kill her or cause her to die. So I went in, and I thought I was doing the right thing, hit him in the head with my pink plastic bat, which caused him to throw me against the wall and injure me for life. So, but, he's been driving her crazy. She phones and she's like, he's driving me nuts. He thinks Kimberly's the devil because Kimberly, her daughter, will be playing the flute in the living room, and he thinks it's the devil. And he comes running out of his room naked because my dad just is always running around naked. He's a psychologically ill man. And, he's sick. He's mentally ill. And so he would come out running out in the living room naked in front of his granddaughter, who's 7 years old, screaming at her, devil be gone, thinking that she's the devil. See, my dad is psychotic, right? Now you know why, the belt across the face and, I'm going to kill a whole family tonight in our sleep, and then I'm going to kill myself. We're demon seed. This is my dad, right? And that's why it was really easy for him to just, I'm a man, digging into my ribs, like literally, separating my ribs. You know what I mean? I've got rib damage because of that, right? To my rib cage. And, beating on me with a belt in the face, I mean, he was a sick man, right? He beat on my brothers. He got arrested for child abuse. You know what I mean? You can go back and watch all those videos. And you'll see just how nice he is. You know what I mean? But he's mentally ill. He will not get help. He's never, they told him, you need counseling and you need therapy, man. You know? And he just, no, he didn't want to do it. My mom didn't either. So he just continues on in his mental illness and makes his family put up with it. But my sister's being real nice because now that my mom's gone and passed on and moved on to heaven, which I'm sure she did, um, he's staying with her and she's going crazy. She's like, he's gonna drive me nuts. You know, he's doing this, he's doing that, right? And I told her, I said, just tell him he's got to go. Just tell him he's got to get his own place now. It's been a couple, 3 years, 4 years now. I don't know how long it's been, like, you know. So she does eventually tell him he's got to get his own apartment. So, you know, when I'm 34, let's just say, we're going back just a little bit. He gets his own apartment, and she decides that she wants to move to Canada, where I'm at, in Calgary. And me and my sister are not that close. We used to fight a lot when I was growing up because she was always insulting me, telling me I stank, telling me I had really bad breath. My mom didn't worry about me brushing my teeth. What was I supposed to do? My teeth, well, I was born a preemie, and I didn't have enough calcium. So my nails, I was born like 3 months early. So my nails, my hair, my teeth, all that stuff is bad. I wouldn't doubt that my bones have issues because of that. I wasn't born healthy at all. I was born very sick and just barely made it. I mean, I almost died, right? So, but nobody cares because they all tried to kill me anyway. And then I was like, yeah, go ahead and kill me, you stupid. You know. So anyway, you can go back and watch those videos. Nobody cared if I lived and died anyways or whatever. But the thing is it did, I mean, you know, I mean, she was just constantly making fun of me, steady. And I mean, as a little kid, I was just like, you know, I'd just give it back sometimes. She was bigger than me and she could pound me down. She was 5.5 years older than me most of the year, a lot bigger than me at any given time. And she used to beat on me a little bit, but it was mostly sibling stuff, you know, just sibling stuff. But we weren't that close because of the abuse. And then she moved out, got married. I stayed home to try to protect my mom from my dad. You know, I didn't begrudge her that she got married and got her own life going. I wasn't sitting there going, why isn't Kathy here helping me stop dad from raping mom? You know, I was never doing that, right? She had her own life, whatever. But we kind of, you know, we were never that close. And so she wants to move to Canada. And I'm like, you know, you have to be really sure, you know, that that's what you want to do, you know, because it's 2,000 miles north. It's cold up here in the wintertime. And Kimberly, whether she's her daughter, you know, my niece, whether she would really want to leave her dad, which is my sister's ex-husband, and his side of the family behind, you know, and all of her cousins on that side, lots of family, big family on my sister's ex-husband's side, big family. And I mean, I said, you want to be sure that what you're doing is not just for you, but also for your daughter. Make sure you both are, you know, this is really in all of your interests before you move up here. So that we sort of stopped at that, you know what I mean? And so I'm 35 years old. It's 2001. Well, Cecil's starting to get sick, and we don't know what's wrong with him. His legs are swelling up, and he's getting a little kind of sickly. We don't think much about it because we're like, well, it doesn't seem to be too strange, you know what I mean? And he goes to his doctors. The doctors figure they don't know what it is. And so he ends up getting a job up north in the wintertime, up in around Peace, like up above Peace River, way up by the Yukon, like by the Northwest Territories there. And so he's going to take this contract, and he's going to be gone for, you know, a couple months, probably 2-3 months. So he takes this contract in the winter, like it was probably right around, I don't know, January or something. And right away, within the first week or so, I get a call that he's been fallen sick at work. He's fallen ill, and they don't know what's wrong with him. He's really ill. They have to actually airlift him to Peace River Hospital in an air ambulance. So they airlift him, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on? So they airlift him to the Peace River Hospital, and from there, they take him down to Edmonton, which is the next city down, biggest city there. That's the capital of Alberta, of the province. And then they take him by ambulance, a 3-hour ambulance ride down here to Calgary. So they get him to Calgary after, you know, a couple of days of working to get him home down here. And he's in the hospital, but he's not there very long. They run some tests. They can't figure out what's going on. And we're I'm a little freaked out about this. You know what I mean? This is my man. This is the man I love. This man loves me. I love him. He's sick, and I'm thinking, what's the deal? They ran a bunch of tests, couldn't figure anything out. And he had to go for some tests. He had a bunch of tests run again. February 14th, that was Valentine's Day, 2001. He had to go to the doctor for the results. And so he goes, and it's not his regular family doctor. This is a specialist in the Calgary hospital. Like these are the big time specialist people that work with people with cancer and every kind of bad thing you can think of. And I didn't go in with him because he would never go. He would never kind of go with me to doctor's appointments. And I said, well, if you're not going to come with me to stuff like that, then I'm just not going to go with you. So you do your thing. I'll wait for you in the car. And so I just waited out in the car. It was cold. It was February 14th, Valentine's Day. Here I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting for Cecil to come back out from his appointment. Well, he comes out and he gets in the car, and I know by his face this is not good. He's got a definite worried look on his face and upset. And he gets in the car and he shuts the door. And he says, honey, I'm dying. And it's Valentine's Day, 2001. I'm 35 years old. This is the love of my life sitting next to me. And he tells me that he's dying. Honey, I'm dying. And I'm like, well, that's just really a great Valentine's Day gift, isn't it? Thanks a lot. But I wasn't mad at him. I'm kind of like, I'm not even blaming God at this point, because me and God don't even have a relationship, because I cursed him in the backyard. You know what I mean? When I was like 15 years old and my friend died and I cursed him. We've had no relationship. You can go back and watch that video from 15 years old. It's all detailed there. And so I have to drive home. I've got some tears rolling down my face. My head is spinning. You know what I mean? I'm dizzy because I've just been told by my husband that he's dying. And I'm like, well, what is it, honey? We're sitting in the parking lot still talking, because I'm like, I got to make sure I'm okay to drive first before we take off and go home. It's cold. We're freezing our butts off in the car. But we don't care because this is really bad. And he's like, it's liver disease. And they figure that it's terminal. And they don't know how long I have. I might have 2 years. I might have 5 years. I might have 6 months. They don't know. We got to go for further testing in Edmonton. So he gives, I'm just like, at this point, I'm sick. I just want to throw up. I'm dizzy. I can't think straight. This man is the love of my life, And so I kind of calmed down, and I said, I'll just get us home, and we can talk at home, because he's upset. He's just been told that he's dying, and he's sitting next to the woman that he loves. He's sitting next to the woman that he figures is the one that he was supposed to meet. That's how I felt too, right? We both felt the same about each other. And it was really horrific. I can't even begin to explain that. So people have gone through it. Many, so many millions and billions and trillions would know exactly where I'm coming from. And you just have to keep going, right? So we got to go home. So I got to drive. So I'm like, I got to pull it together. I'm used to pulling it together. I'm an abuse survivor. I got to get up off the floor after an ass kicking. You know what I mean? Check for damage in the mirror. It's like, oh shit, got another fucking black eye. I mean, I'm used to getting up off the ground, and pulling myself up, right? But it doesn't mean that it's easy. So I drive home very carefully so we don't get in a car wreck, And we get home, and we have been told he's got his information packet with him from the specialist, that we have to go to a 3-day seminar thing. That's not just a seminar. It's going to be some tests, as well as talking to the specialist there, because that's where the main liver specialist people are in Edmonton. And we have to go up there for 3 days. That's where everybody goes when they've been told that they've got liver disease and they're dying or whatever. So we got to go. So I arrange it with work. By now, I've actually left the pub. at the age of just maybe the year before, and I'm working at ATB. I'm working at a bank, right? I got in on a temp job thing because I was getting a little burned out in the kitchen. After about 4 years or so, cooks actually burn out, and you can do the studies on it. You can burn out really quickly cooking, especially at the same restaurant, because it's usually the same menu, and you're doing the same things, and it gets a little old and mundane after a while. So a lot of times cooks will change jobs. They will move around quite a bit. Or they'll just do something else for a while and they'll come back to it. It's always something you can do. If you have a cooking skill and you don't lose it, you can always cook, right? And so I decide I'm going to get out for a while. I'm just, so I'm working at a bank now. So I have to tell them, I got to go with my husband. I got to take him up to Edmonton. We have a car by now, actually, a little tiny car. And I have to go, and this all happened within like a year or so. It was kind of an interesting year. Changed jobs. I got a car, like this little car that my friend, Michelle, had sold me for really practically nothing because it needed work and she didn't want to put the work into it. And she was just storing it. It was just sitting there. She wasn't driving it. It was still drivable, but it needed a lot of work. So, I did put some work into it to get it going, but I did have to put a lot more work into it to keep it running. But it was a neat little car. It was really awesome. And so we got wheels now, right? That's why we're driving that's why I'm driving, right? And so I gotta tell my work I need some time off. I need like 3 days off or whatever. So they give me I think 3 or 4 days or something like that to go do this, 4 days or something. And we take off. We go on this. We head up. We go to this thing in Edmonton. They tell us exactly what's going on. They said, after they ran the tests, because they're the specialists, right? The liver specialists. They said, you have liver disease. It's possible that it was hereditary. Cecil's dad died when he was 19. When Cecil was 19, his dad died, and his father had died very young, at the age of like 45. So Cecil's, I guess, what do you want to call that, paternal line, the dad line, always dies about 45 years old, 50 years old. So Cecil they believe it's probably hereditary, and that it's just something that just happens to their livers. So they're like, you have maybe 2 to 5 years to live, and I'm in there with them. I'm in there listening to this stuff, right? And they're like, you have maybe 2 to 5 years, like if that. But we're going to say 2 to 5 because we have to give you something to go by. You could live 10 years. You could live 20 years. You could live 6 months. And it's kind of up to you. We had to go to nutrition class one day. We spent a whole day in nutrition class so that we could find out what Cecil could eat and what he couldn't eat. And this would help save his life. Food was a big issue. And, we had to learn all this stuff, right? So after the 3 days, we stayed in a motel and we go back down to Calgary, right? And, we just decide, like, we are not going to be beaten by this. This is not going to ruin the rest of our lives. We figure we've only been together a short time. It's 2001. I moved up to Canada in 1995. So we're talking like 6 years I've been in Canada, but I left him for a year. So we've only been together 5 years. And we're like, we're not going to let this destroy what we have. Like, even if we have 6 months or we have 2 years or we have 5 years or 10 years, we're going to keep going. And this is our attitude. And we really did do that. And we just took it head on, and we changed the way we were eating. I'm already a cook. I'm not a chef like him. Cecil is actually a Gold Seal chef, a Gold Seal papered chef. Like, he's a real chef out of England, and he knows his stuff. But he doesn't. He's at this point he's not feeling well. I'm doing a lot of the cooking, and we change our diet completely. And we're eating healthy foods, no processed stuff at all. Like, we're making our own stuff, cooking our own stuff. We're not eating any bought-in stuff that has any preservatives or salts or any garbage in it, right? And so we just decided we better do this because, and Cecil quit smoking. He used to smoke. I keep smoking, but I just don't smoke around him. You know what I mean? But I'm still smoking. And so, we just decided we're just going to do everything to try to beat this disease. You know what I mean? And he's got a good attitude. As I said before, Cecil doesn't have emotional problems like I do. He was not psychologically abused. He was not physically abused. He was not emotionally abused. He was not abused as a child. Came from a good home. His dad died when he was young. He was 19 when his dad died, so that affected him. They also had a house fire when he was really little, and he's the only one out of 4 siblings that survived the house fire because he was out playing, and the other 3 in the house died from smoke inhalation. So he's had some trauma in his life, but it's not abuse. It's not abuse related. His parents didn't beat on him and curse him and spit in his face and throw him out and sexually abuse him and call him names and run him down and, you know, push his head into the ground and bash him. You know what I mean? No, I mean, he grew up in a kind of loving home. You know, he was wanted. All of his siblings, they were all wanted. His mother loved them all. His mother didn't run around beating them with rolling pins and smacking them with brooms and hitting them and punching them and kicking them. So he has no abuse related issues like I do. He's emotionally well. And so he handles this really well. He's like, I'm going to live and I'm just going to keep going. I'm not going to give up till the end. I mean, doesn't matter whether it's 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, don't matter. I'm not giving up. And this is the way it's been the whole time. He's still alive, as you know. He was diagnosed in 2001, terminally ill, 2 to 5 years to live. So this is hanging and dangling over my head and his head, but he chooses not to allow it to bother him. As for me, I'm trying really hard not to let it bother me because I'm like, well, I've faced adversity before, you know what I mean? So I can deal with this, but it has more of an effect on me than it does on him. And he's the one that's dying, right? And he knows that. He stays very level-headed. And, he's worried because he's thinking, if I do go, what's going to happen to you? I'm like, well, I'll just have to buck up, right? So in the meantime, with all this going on, I can't deal with my survivor issues. So all of that stuff, gets put into a drawer. All of it, all the abuse, all the child sexual abuse gets put back into those drawers. And I take the key and I turn the lock and I put the key away. Because now I've got to deal with this, you know what I mean? I can't deal with that. I can't, so I don't have flashbacks at this time. I don't have body memories at this time. Because all of that stuff is tucked away again so I can deal with this. That's how the brain will work sometimes. That's as you do the studies, right? So, in the meantime, we moved to a duplex, this really cool duplex. And we were living in an apartment downtown in that apartment building. And we moved to this great duplex. It's got a beautiful front and backyard. It's gorgeous. It's really cute and old, but it's really cute. It's like a little house, right? And so we like it there. We're much happier there. And I am still working at this bank, but my friend, Michelle, we're still friends. She's still cooking. She says, I want you to be my sous chef. I want you to be my sous chef. She changed jobs and went to another pub that's owned by the same people. And I'm like, well, I'm working over at the bank, and I mean, and she's like, no, I really want you to be my sous chef. And you're going to make a lot more money. A lot more. Because I'll tell you what you'll be making so that you'll want to make sure that whether you want to take this job or not. And it was double what I was making, probably double a month what I was making, and a lot more work. But instead of making a smaller amount of money, I'm going to be doubling my money or more, right? To being the sous chef. Also, the opportunity to be a sous chef. I couldn't be a real sous chef like a Red Seal or anything like that because I don't have my papers. I missed my baking course, and my brother died of a drug overdose. I didn't go back to school. My mom fell and broke her hip, right? I didn't go back and finish that. You can go back and watch all that. And but I know my stuff by now because I've been cooking for a lot of years now, and I've been cooking under some really good people that know what they're doing, and I've learned a lot. So I'm feeling competent enough to take on the role, but I'm thinking, well, should I leave that bank, to do this? And I decided to do it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going back in the kitchen. I love to wear my whites, I love to have, and I'll be in charge of the kitchen when she's not there. I used to be supervisor, for a while there, and people always respected me. They respect my work. Even the guys, being a boss over the guys, and the guy cooks respected my work enough to listen to my direction in the kitchen. So that was a great compliment, really. And I worked hard to get that. I really did. I put in the time and I put in the work, man. It was a lot of elbow grease work. We're talking a lot of work because you have to be willing to climb up and clean those those grease traps, and you got to be willing to climb up and clean the vents, the grease air vents and stuff like that before you ask your staff to do it. And those guys, I had to be willing to tear the freezer apart first before I'd even ask my staff to do it, because they got to see that I'm not using them, and I'm the boss. You just got to do what I say, and I'm just gonna go have a coffee. I'm gonna go sit down and have a smoke and a coffee. It's like I had to be able to do the job better than they could. See, and as a sous chef, woman sous chef on the line with all guy cooks, you have to be able to do the job better than they can, or they won't respect you. If you can't cook around them in circles and you can't show them up, make them look really bad, they will not respect you. But if you go on, if you're the boss and you actually can run circles around them blindfolded, and you're the best cook on the line, they have all the respect for you, and they'll do anything for you. So I had to be really good to be able to do this, and I got really good, but with some great training from some really good people who were willing to show me how to do this, right? So it was a great skill, and I loved it very much. And so I took on this job as sous chef, and now I'm making double the money I was making before, literally overnight. I start working, in the first month, I've doubled my money right there. So money's not so much an issue now, And Cecil, he's not working the people. When we went for those tests, they told him there's no sense in you working, because he was literally getting sick. See, he was dying. That's why he's terminally ill. He wasn't just, oh, I've got a really bad cold, I can't work for a couple of years. The man is dying. They told him, do not work. You're just going to wear, just kind of enjoy your time. You may have 2 years, you may have 5 years. It could be more than that, but you don't know. Do you really want to risk that just to work a couple of years and be in the grave? Just if you can do without it, don't bother working, right? So Cecil's not working, and he's on like a supplemental income thing, right, from the government. But I'm still working. And but I'm making lots of money now, and I'm getting to do something that I never dreamed that I would make it as a sous chef, because I don't know how to red seal paper. It's hard to be a sous chef when you're not papered, and so that was a great thing for my friend to do, was to let me do that, and she trained me up, and I was able to take over when she wasn't there. You know what I mean? So if she was off for a day, or she was, I would actually open the kitchen, and then she would come in later. This gave her the opportunity to be able to catch up on some of her paperwork and all this. And she could trust me in the kitchen. She didn't have to be worried about stuff getting done. It was a great time. I really enjoyed it. It was a good challenge for me, physically as well as mentally. Emotionally, because physically it's a lot of work, and you have to be in good shape to be a sous chef in a kitchen, a real working sous chef, not a fake pretend sous chef that just sits and drinks coffee and stuff. There are those, right? But we're talking a real working sous chef who can run circles around all the cooks and direct and guide and make sure that everything on that line is going out you're not even the person that's checking the food, but you see it going, and you're calling the tickets, and you're running the show. Man, that kitchen, if it starts to go down, it is your responsibility. So you have to make sure it happens. That kitchen cannot crash. The kitchen cannot crash. You have to keep it afloat. Your staff are counting on you for guidance, because they're afraid, if you don't know your shit, you're going to crash the kitchen, and they're going to be screwed. They don't want that. So when it runs smooth, it's awesome, And that was one of the busiest pubs in the city. It still is today, and it's just a few blocks from where I live right now. I walk by it all the time. Yeah, I got good memories there. It was awesome. But anyway, so we're working, and this friend of mine, her name's Michelle. We met when I moved into Calgary, and I was on my own the year that Cecil was in Edmonton, and I thought about him the whole time. We've developed this great friendship, Now, we've been friends now for 5 years, and she's awesome. But what she wants to know about my past, I had mentioned something. She was talking about a little bit of abusive behavior from her dad one time, and I mentioned a little bit of my story. I said, well, I know where you're coming from, because I grew up with that, with some of that, and maybe our stories are a little different, but I know what it is, And she was like, well, then she wanted to know more and more about my story. She was very, very interested in what happened to me as a child. And we would talk about it, I would talk about it with her, and she would ask me questions. And, I didn't realize, but I don't know why she asked me these questions, but if she didn't want to know. But that year, while I was sous chefing, was a really bizarre year. That was, let me see, what year was that? 2000. Well, Cecil was diagnosed in 2001, and I was 35. So I turned 36 in December. See, my birthday's late in the year, right? So I was 35. So um, I'm sous chefing and whatnot at the age of 39. Now 4 years have gone by, right? So I had worked in this bank, just the same old thing, right? And then me and Cecil moved to that town, that little duplex, and then when I'm 39, that's when I go to be a sous chef, right? And I do that for 1 year. And at that time, my friend actually said that she thought that I was too much because there was a new cook on the line, and she wanted him for her sous chef. And so me and her had been friends for 10 years now, just about, like, not quite 8, 9 years, but we had been friends a long time, really close. I mean, we'd do stuff every day, talk on the phone for hours, and I just loved her. I just absolutely loved her. And she was so cool, and she was very good to me, very good to me. She just got, I think she got tired of me, and she just wanted me out, wanted me gone. So she started saying little insulting things and kind of pissing me off, and it blew to a head at work, and I quit the job. I'm like, I don't need this shit. See, this is my adult survivor issues now going to come out, because I'm like, I don't need this crap from you. We're weirdo here. If you don't want to be my friend, that's fine. But this is a real shitty way to get rid of me. And I'm like, because she's like, I just can't deal with you. You're too much. You need help. She was the one asking me about my abuse. I didn't voluntarily just blurt it out at her every day going, you should have seen when I was, you know what I mean? She would say, well, yeah, your mom, like, she seemed like a real, and she would dig it out, see, and then I would go on and talk, right? Because she was talking about her parents too, you know what I mean? Then she just throws it in my face, and as well, I've just been a leech, kind of hanging around her. She wants to just unload me, right? I don't trust people as it is. Now I trust Cecil now, because he's proven he's trustworthy. I thought I could trust her as a friend. But I'm like, whatever. I'm too old for this shit. I'm almost 40. You don't want to be in my life and you want me gone, I'm gone, because I don't want to cause you no problems. But also, you're not going to get away with this shit without people knowing about it. And I left that restaurant huff, man. And I told him I said, I'm gone. She wants that other guy in there as sous chef. I'm just out. Here's my keys to the pub, and I will not be back. And so I quit that job. And I decide that I need to go back into the office, right? Back into some sort of office work. But I don't want to necessarily go back to the bank, because it's a little stressful. The banking jobs are very hard work, a lot of work. It takes like 2 or 3 years just to train up, just to work in them. Literally, in the departments I was working in, it took like 2 years just to train to actually work there. It's a lot of work, and I thought, I don't know if I want to do that. I think I'll go temporary. I'll do some temporary jobs, because in the meantime, Cecil's sick. I don't know when this disease is going to just take over his body. Right? Well, this was a very stressful time at this time. He has a phone call from the liver clinic saying that there's a liver transplant available for him because he's on the list. And I'm going to go over time with this one a little bit. We're at 40 minutes. And they say, you've got about 3 minutes because we have to get this liver to the person that we're going to get it to transplant. So you've got like 3 minutes to make up your mind whether you want this liver or not, because it's slated for you if you do. And it's your blood type and all this, right? This is what they're saying. And so I told Cecil, see, this is in the middle of the night, like 12 o'clock in the morning. Right? We had to keep the phone on just in case the liver transplant people would call, right? And Cecil was like, he's looking at me and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel right about this. And I said, honey, look, you already know me. I'm going to support you with whatever you want to do. I said, I can't make that decision for you. It's not my body. It's not my life. It's your life and it's your body. Don't make the decision based on me. Make the decision based on your gut instinct of what your gut is telling you to do. And then you'll be able to live with the decision, right? So he thought about it and he said, I don't feel right about it. He turned it down. And I actually told a few people about that. They were like, oh my God, he turned down a liver transplant. Why would he do that? That's his chance to get a liver, right? And I said, well, he's got his decisions to make, and he's got to live with them. It turns out that that liver was not screened properly. It had AIDS in it. And the person that got it died. We found that out later. He's really smart to listen to his gut instincts, let me tell you. And so he got another call another time, shortly after, maybe within 6 months, another liver. And he turned that one down too. He didn't feel right about it. He said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't feel right about it. And I said, well, you go with your gut instinct, you know. And he did, and he turned that one down. And it turns out it was not his blood type. And they gave it to another guy with the wrong blood type, and he died. So that's 2 times Cecil, he was like, that's it. I don't even want to be on the liver transplant list anymore. Forget it. I'm just going to live to the end of my days. And that'll be fine with me. Right? That's his decision. And so we'll pick up now. We'll move right on into. We won't be able to go to 42 unless I want to keep going for an hour. Maybe we will. I'll just continue on because there's just a little bit more I want to talk about here. Well, anyway, Cecil. In the meantime, his oldest, actually not the oldest, his youngest son, who's only like 1.5 years maybe younger than the other son, comes to visit from England. And I won't even go into this big old long story because it's too long. But their relationship is so estranged because he's been gone. His son's life, Cecil was not in his son's lives, and when he left, his boys were very, very young. They don't really even remember their dad. That's how young they were when him and his ex-wife split up. So, but they've talked to him on the phone and send pictures. They know what he looks like from pictures and photos, right? They know that he's his dad. That he's their dad, right? But they have this real problem because he wasn't there for them. And that's understandable. I totally was understanding about this. Well, his son wants to come and see Cecil because they find out Cecil's dying, of course, that he's terminally ill. And he's like, I want to meet my dad before he dies. I want to see him as an adult through adult eyes. And I want to tell him what I want to tell him as an adult, you know. And so we say, well, yeah, I mean, you've got to do what you got to do. So we welcome his son into our duplex, right? He's sleeping on this bed couch thing, right? And he stays with us for a while. He works before I leave the restaurant thing. He's actually there working with me for a while. But he causes a lot of stress for Cecil because he wants to hurt Cecil. Because Cecil hurt him when he was young, when he left. That whole rejection thing. I get it. I was abused. So see, I'm trying to keep the peace, and I'm trying to help this younger man. He's just a few years younger than me. I don't know how many years younger than me, but there's a few years between us. But I'm still young enough I can kind of relate to him, And I said, I grew up abused, buddy. You don't have to tell me. I know, you have every right to feel the way that you do about your dad. Just feeling rejected, whatever you're feeling, because he would tell me, how he felt about his dad not being there. Just this dad that was out of the picture, and he had some problems with that. Right? So he would kind of push Cecil. Cecil would push him back at him. They weren't duking it out. Cecil's like sick. He's like terminally ill. And I mean, Cecil's an emotionally well person. So he's not going to try to abuse his son. He loves his boys. He just didn't get to help raise them, right? And he's, it's sad. These things happen. We know they happen. It's really sad and actually tragic. So he causes some problems, It's not necessarily the best scene. Cecil's health is not very good, obviously. He's terminally ill. He's dying. And so he's starting to get nosebleeds. He's starting to get sick. And he feels that he needs to move out to like a lodge, someplace where he can just live, where he can kind of be looked after by people where there's a nurse on site. Now, I don't know if his son put that in his head to try to break me and him up or what. All I know is I come home from work one day and Cecil's moving out. Who knew? This is before I leave the restaurant job, actually. And so, I mean, this is this little side story. So, I mean, I'm like, you got to do what you got to do. I can't hold you here. If you think you're going to be better off at one of those places, then that's what you need to do, right? We'll still be friends. I mean, we'll still be together. And Cecil was like, you need to move on with your life. You could find another man. You could have a whole new life with another person, instead of hanging around with me, this person who's dying. You could go on and do things with your life, And I'm like, yeah, but you're the man that I love. Haven't we just spent like the last, I mean, really 31 to 39, the last 8 years just getting along, and we're there for each other, and I'm helping him get through this, and he helped me get through so much when we first got together. We're a team. He's breaking the team up. And this is where we'll leave off. So thanks everybody for your interest in my work. I really appreciate it. Like I say on all my shows, I really do. People take the time to listen to my stuff. And, I appreciate everything you're doing, like I said, to stop child abuse, and for survivors out there, you have to keep going. You know, you cannot allow yourself to be destroyed by this abuse and by your past. Get help. You have to reach out. That's what I did. I'll be talking about that on some future videos. And you have to get help. You cannot do this. People can't do it alone. I always thought that I could because I had suffered alone in this, my whole life. And I knew that if I didn't get help, the end was coming. And it was probably going to be at my own hand. And so, please make the right decision. I'm so glad I stuck it out because I'm alive. They could not kill me. That's my victory. They couldn't even get me to kill myself, which is what they wanted. Right? That's what abusers want. And so, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful I'm still here. So I'm telling you, you got to stick it out. You got to win this fight with me. God bless you all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.